So Donald Trump is a demented, lunatic psychopath, a petty man-child. He literally wrote a letter today, and I wish I was making this up, but I'm not. He literally wrote a letter today that said to the Nobel Committee that said, "Dear Jonas, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars, plus I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but how can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America? Denmark cannot protect the land from Russia or China, and why do they have a right of ownership anyway? There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland." Does this sound like a normal, sane human being to you? He is basically stating that this is like that Daffy Duck scenario where anything that Bugs has, Daffy wants, and he'll scream, "Mine, mine, mine, gimme, gimme, gimme!" And he'll do everything he can to take it from Bugs by having a battle of wits. Donald Trump is basically saying, because you didn't give me the Nobel Peace Prize, I am going to take what's rightfully belongs to us, a.k.a. Greenland. Now, I have a question. He says he stopped 8 wars. I'd like to know, but he's not saying which 8 wars. So I'd like to know which 8 wars he's referring to that he stopped. Because in my lifetime, the only wars I've seen that I'm aware of were the Persian Gulf War, the Afghanistan War, sadly, the Israeli War from October 7th. Those are 3 things that I saw in my lifetime. So, unless I speak in math, but unless I'm mistaken in my numbers, there's absolutely no way that Donald Trump could have stopped 8 wars, because, first of all, he wasn't president during the other wars that we had. For instance, he wasn't president during 91. He certainly wasn't president during 9/11. He wasn't president during the Vietnam War, or World War I or II, or even the Korean War, or the Cold War. So exactly what wars did he end? That nobody has actually been questioning him on. Because I don't know about you, but if I said I stopped 8 wars, I would be proud to announce the wars that I were on. Right? But he's saying, because who said they own? First of all, there is no truth to the theory that Donald Trump is saying that China and Russia have ships by the Greenland border. That's not even accurate. Even Denmark themselves says that's not a thing. But Donald Trump says they're all liars, and he knows better, and it has to be done. If you read between the lines here, Donald Trump doesn't care. Greenland is not a matter of national security for a couple of reasons. Number one, we already have a military base in Greenland. In fact, not only do we have a military base, the 1951 Defense Pact that agreement that we made with Greenland says that we are allowed to expand our presence there in Greenland military-wise. So that's number one, something that either Donald Trump doesn't know or doesn't care. But number two, if it was a national security, wouldn't every other president have done something about it already? Wouldn't they have done something about it? How is it? And if you're going to say it's a national security issue, fine, I'll give you that. But explain, how the hell is it a national security issue? Okay, fine. What makes it a national security issue? Are they attacking us? Do they want? Are they an imminent threat to us? They are a sovereign country. They are a part of NATO, and they are, they are a sovereign nation, part of NATO, because of Denmark, and they are part of Denmark. And he's writing, why do they have a right of ownership anyway? Like, seriously, why do they have a right of ownership? It's their country. You could ask that about Canada. Why does Canada own Canada? Why does England own England? Why do we own New York? Nobody owns a country. What, right of ownership? He puts it in, like, this has got to be the most demented lunatic I've ever seen. A right of ownership that we... First of all, I don't think we had ships in Greenland. I don't think we ever landed on Greenland. I don't think we did. And Donald Trump says he has done more for NATO than anybody else. Okay, really? What have you done? I don't know about you, but if I'm writing a paper about someone's achievements, I'm listing everything they've done. If I've done achievements, I'd be proud to list all the achievements that I've done, and I would write that in a letter. I know I'm not getting this award, but here's a list of achievements that I've done, should you ever consider it. Or should you ever want to reconsider? Okay, fine. What have you done for NATO? You're trying to destroy NATO, so what have you done for NATO? And because you don't want to give me the Nobel Peace Prize, I'm going to invade your country? That's got to be the most fucked up shit I've ever heard from anybody. What is this? You're a petty man-child? You didn't give me what I want, so I'm going to take what's right for what's yours? Like, seriously? And you no longer feel obliged to think purely of peace? So what you're basically saying is you're going to declare war because they're not giving you what you want. Well, first of all, they're not obligated to give you anything. And I don't think you know how the Nobel Peace Prize works. Neither do I, by the way. That being said, it's given to people who are worthy of it, who made some contributions in their lifetime. And the key word here, and you're going to get for a shocker, sir, but the key word here is the Peace Prize. Peace Prize. People who actually contributed something. You know who would get, and I have a few candidates here. You get Sean Penn, who would be eligible for the Peace Prize, Matt Damon. Hell, even Lawrence O'Donnell from MSNBC would be eligible for the Peace Prize. But Trump, what the hell have you done to get the prize? You just want it because it's an award of gold? And remember, anything that Donald Trump touches dies. So you give him the Nobel Peace Prize, and then you lose all respect in this whole organization thing. Because Albert Noble put in his will the specifications on who gets the prize, and the requirements, and what it's done. And for years, I suspect that Donald Trump wants the Nobel Peace Prize because Obama has one. Yes. I don't know if many people know that, but Obama has a Peace Prize. But he's also an accomplished writer, a New York Times bestselling author, a well-known book. He's also a lawyer. He was a congressman, a senator. He has more accomplishments than Donald Trump will ever have. And here's more. He's basically telling Norway because, first of all, you're telling Norway because you didn't give me the Peace Prize that I so desperately want, which is pathetic, really. I have a right to do whatever I want now as punishment to you. He's basically telling Norway, I'm going to war with, that I'm going to make your life a living hell, and now I'm really going to take Greenland whether you like it or not because you didn't give me what I want. So Donald Trump is a 78-year-old man-child who's nothing but vindictive. And making up and he solved 8 wars. And he's also convinced that one of the 8 wars that he ended were non-existent. Wars that never happened. Algeria and Albania, or whichever two he said, that aren't even anywhere near each other, and are at peace with each other, but he ended that war, and now they're at peace. That's funny. I don't remember anything that Donald... I don't remember Donald Trump being president in 1991. I don't remember him being president in 2011, and I certainly don't remember him withdrawing the troops in Afghanistan. Joe Biden did that, but only because Donald Trump put the wheels in motion at the end of his first term, and he forgot that he did that. He said the Biden administration screwed up the Afghanistan deployment, and I could have done a better job. Yep, I don't know about that, but why didn't you do it then? Why did you do it? This administration is so corrupt and so, I don't know what, that everything that happened, well, we're fixed. It was Joe Biden. Joe Biden. Joe Biden. They are so obsessed with Joe Biden that they can't, that any accountability they have, they blame Joe Biden for it. Oh, we have a lot of immigrants, but that's because of Joe Biden, because of the border. What they don't realize, what they forget to mention, is that Joe Biden actually signed a bill to fix that problem. That's what they forget. But the border situation has nothing to do with Joe Biden, though. The border problem has been an ongoing problem for years. It's sort of like homelessness. Everybody has a solution. Everyone has a problem with it. Everyone has a problem with it, but nobody has a solution. It's easy to say, yeah, there's a problem with homelessness. Yeah, there's a problem with undocumented. Yeah, it's easy to say it. But it's another to actually take actions in doing it. Actions speak louder words. I have an achievement. Yeah, I have an achievement that I'm proud of to say. Yes, I auditioned for America's Got Talent. Okay? Not once, but twice. And nobody believed me. When I said I was going to do it, nobody believed me because, but when I told people I did it, when I took a picture of my audition number, the number you have to wear, and people said, holy shit, he actually did it. And they were shocked. But I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. Because I wanted to respect myself. I wanted to do something that was out of my comfort zone. And it was a humiliating experience because when they're laughing, when you're standing up there doing the audition and they're laughing, you don't know if they're laughing at you or with you. But that's my achievement, and I'm proud of that. And I can say that. I achieved something. Because everyone says, oh, I can do this, but you don't. Prove it. Actions speak louder words. I said I was going to do it, and I did it, and I'm proud of that. So yes, I can say I've done more than somebody else. Because why? I did that achievement, and I'm listing it. I auditioned for America's Got Talent, and that's an achievement of mine, and nobody can take that from me. Whether or not people believe me is immaterial. I know it happened. I know what happened. I didn't get on TV. I never made it to the audition rounds on television, but I had the guts to go in front of producers out of my comfort zone to do that. I did it. I didn't do it for the person next door. I didn't think people believe me. I did it for myself to see if I could do it. And I did. So if you're going to listen to achievement, list the achievement and be proud of it. Be proud of it. You ended 8 wars? Fine. What are those 8 wars? Why doesn't anybody know about them? Why, when the press asks you for those 8 wars, you quickly change the subject? Because they're calling out your bullshit lie? Or because you don't want to tell them? Wouldn't you be proud to say I ended 8 wars? Wouldn't you be proud of that? Wouldn't that be an achievement that you'd want the world to know about? Wouldn't you want that to be your legacy? So no, you didn't 8 wars, Donald Trump, because it's impossible for you to have done so. Because if it actually happened, anybody would be proud to have that. Would say, oh yeah, we ended the war, I ended this war, and you would be proud, and that would have been your legacy, and history would record you as saying Donald Trump ended 8 wars, and these were the wars, and this is how it was ended. So no, I call bullshit on that. So not only do you want the Peace Prize, but you're writing a letter to the committee, lying to them, saying you ended 8 wars and done more for NATO, when in fact you're trying to destroy NATO. Because you go into Greenland, you can kiss that alliance goodbye, and hello, World War III. And that is not what a normal, sane person would say. No sane person is going to say, because you didn't give me what I want, I'm going to take away what's yours, even though it likely doesn't belong to you anyway. And you can't prove that it's yours. Like, what fucked up person What fucked up demented deranged person would actually say that? So you're going to, but make it perfectly clear, this whole Greenland national security issue is bullshit. He wants the minerals that are in Greenland. Just like he said with Venezuela. I want the oil. And it's going to be great for America. No, it's not. He's taking the money and funneling it to a secret account in Qatar. He's keeping the money. And the stupid idiot publicly said it too. He said, I have the money, we're funding, we're protecting it, the U.S. is going to control the money, and it's in a secret account in Qatar. And if you read between the lines, what he's saying is America's going to control that money. He's going to say, I'm taking the money, I'm controlling that money. Yes, it's a secret account in Qatar. It's not a secret account. It's a Donald Trump account that I have a feeling is connected to his golf courses in the Middle East. We're not an idiot. We're not stupid. And I don't believe that Venezuela stole that oil either. Because you want oil, you can go to Texas for oil. You can go to the Middle East for oil. You want oil. Because you can get oil in the United States. You can get it out in the Midwest. You can get it in desert lands. You don't need to get it in Venezuela. Did Venezuela steal our oil? I'm 90% sure Venezuela did not steal our oil. I'm pretty sure that oil belongs to Venezuela. And then making this an acting president, he can't run our country. He wants to run theirs. And didn't he say putting America first? So this whole bullshit that he's doing right now, and then putting tariffs on all these countries that are against what he's trying to do with Greenland, he's basically saying, you're against me taking over Greenland? Okay, fuck you. I'm putting tariffs on all your countries, and you're going to suffer. Well, first of all, okay, you're making a threat. Okay, you're intimidating and you're bullying. Why should the countries give in to you? You forget the European Union doesn't need us. They're bigger than us. The European Union is way bigger than the United States. They don't need us. In fact, if anything, you're isolating us from them because our friends are turning into our enemies and they're going to end up isolating us that we're going to be alone. And no one is going to want to do business with us. So if they're telling you what you don't want to hear, you're saying, oh, fuck you, I'm not tariff. Well, first of all, tariffs are illegal. First of all, again, what everyone keeps saying is tariffs is not good. The customer is paying those tariffs, not the companies. The companies are going to put it on us, the consumer, because they want the money back for what they're paying, you see. And if the International Court has already ruled it illegal and unconstitutional, our only hope is the Supreme Court rules the same way. Except Donald Trump is going to throw a temper tantrum and say the Supreme Court is wrong, and he's going to want to appeal it. There's no problem with that. Number one, you know the law better than the Supreme Court. And number two, once the Supreme Court makes a decision, you can't appeal that. That's the highest court in the land. If they say get rid of the tariffs, what are you going to do then? Go to your buddy Todd Blanche and say, hey, fix it? But there's more here. Denmark cannot protect land from Russia or China. But Russia and China are nowhere near Greenland. Denmark themselves said it. The fact that you don't want to believe them, that's your problem. The fact that you think you know better than Denmark's own country, that's your problem. That ain't theirs. What you're basically saying is, and by the way, if you have a cabinet and you have security, right? Shouldn't they be taking surveillance of Greenland? Wouldn't they have accurate information? And wouldn't you share that information with the public? If it's a national security, wouldn't you want to tell us why? Or at least whatever you can tell us? And if there are ships from Russia or China in Greenland, doesn't the American people have a right to know? If you're going to go into Greenland, shouldn't the American people who are paying for this, shouldn't we know? I mean, your cabinet, the people you nominated, the people you want them in your cabinet, wouldn't they be having surveillance being done? Wouldn't the Pentagon be doing surveillance of Greenland? But if Denmark is saying Russia and China aren't anywhere near them, and you're saying to Denmark, you're wrong, why would you say that Denmark, why would you be saying that you know Denmark's country better than they do? Especially when you haven't even been to Greenland. But you're not making the situation any better by writing a threatening letter to the Nobel Committee by saying, because you didn't give me the Peace Prize, which I deserve, I no longer have to do anything with peace. Well, okay, fine. Didn't you say you're the peace president in your campaign? Didn't you say you would end the Ukraine war on day one? Okay. It's now a year later. Still fighting. Didn't you say you're putting America first? Okay. Then why are you focused on Venezuela? Why are you focused on Cuba? Why are you focused on Greenland? Didn't you say you're the peace president? Okay. So why do we have the Gestapo causing chaos in states and cities? Why do we have you alienating us from other countries? Why are you attempting to start a World War III for your delusions of grandeur? Last I checked, the peace president wanted peace, wanted to keep the peace, and do everything they could to be diplomatic in doing so, not trying to alienate people and using threats and intimidation. That ain't peace. That ain't peace. And if you really cared about this country, you wouldn't be dealing with Venezuela. Why do you care more about what's going on in Venezuela than what's going on at home? Why do you care about what's going on in Cuba than what's going on at home? Why do you care about more what's in Greenland than what's going on at home? It's a chain reaction, my friends. Everything goes with each other. There are no written documents. Well, first of all, if he says there are no written documents, well, first of all, that may or may not be true. I don't know, but in the history that I learned is that yes, there are documents to claiming ownership. You can't just when Peter Minuet bought Manhattan from the Indians, there was a document, there was signed paper. Whether it still exists or not, the paperwork would have been lost at the time, but that's irrelevant. The point is that when Peter Minuet wanted to buy the island of Manhattan from the Manhattan Indians, there was a transaction involved. Was there money? Maybe. Was there a document signed? Possibly. But yeah, that was an ownership agreement. They're switching land. And yes, there are written documents because when you buy land, and Donald Trump should know this since he owns 4 casinos, right? He should know this since he's in real estate, right? When you buy property, you're signing documents. When you're buying land, you're signing documents for ownership transfer. When you're buying a house, your name is on the lease, or when you're buying a building, your name is on the lease, right? When you become the president or the mayor or the governor, you're signing your name in a ledger to validate the election, to validate the win. So yes, there are written documents, and I guarantee you, a simple Google search or any research would validate that Donald Trump's claim that there are no documents is complete and utter bullshit. And here's the other thing. It's only a boat that landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. Really? How do you know? How do you know? First of all, how old is Greenland? Do I know? No, I don't. Do I care? Not particularly, no. But did boats land there? Possibly. But were the Danish there first? I have no clue. Were the Chinese there first? We have no idea. This is going to go back thousands of years. We have no idea. We have no idea. Did we land boats in Greenland? Was it even called Greenland back then? Again, this is why you have documents. because documents will prove what needs to be proven. So Donald Trump's saying, "Oh, there's no working documents, so you can't claim ownership," or saying, "Why do they have a right of ownership anyway?" Saying, "We should own it because we have a right." Well, okay, if they have no right of ownership, why do you think we should have a right of ownership? Even if you've done more for NATO than anybody else has, that doesn't give you the right to just decide you're going to seize a country. That doesn't give you a right to do that. The military is not there for your beck and call to carry out illegal orders. The military is there to protect this country. Taking Greenland because you want resources isn't a threat to national security. And by the way, Greenland actually said we can have the access to it. We can sign any trade agreements with Greenland. We don't have to take their country. We can sign any agreement. We can sign any trade agreement or anything. But he wants it all. And you know it's bad when every single NATO country, or almost every single NATO country, is sending their military to Greenland to protect it. What he doesn't realize is going into Greenland and invading it is basically starting World War III with the Netherlands and the European Union, and effectively ends NATO, which is what Donald Trump wanted anyway. And guess who's paying for this? Taxpayers will be footing for this bill. Just like the Vietnam War was an unnecessary war for us to be in, so too World War III is a war that Donald Trump will seemingly start on his own and somehow blame somebody else for it, but it will do harm for us. It'll do harm more for us than it would for the European nations. And it's something that we would never recover from, ever. And if it does, it won't be in our lifetime. And when everyone is telling you, in your own government, this is a bad idea, do not do this, and you basically tell Congress, and your answer to Congress is, that international law doesn't matter to me, the only thing that's stopping me is my mortality. Well, that's not a president. That's a dictator. That's a person that says, I'm above the law, I can do whatever I want. But then your press secretary says, we will uphold the law, and we will make sure the people who aren't following the law are punished. Well, okay, look at your boss. Why don't you follow him first? If you say the law matters, so why are you defying the judges? Why are you defying the courts? Why is Puppy Killer Noam doing things she's not allowed to do because it's unconstitutional? What they're doing is saying, it's okay for me, but not for thee. Because I'm the president, therefore I have the power to do whatever I want, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Well, and this is a man who's trying to say, why do we need midterm elections? We can't have elections because then if the Democrats win, they're going to find a reason to impeach me. Well, no shit, Sherlock, but they don't need a reason. I can list you at least 10 right now why you should be impeached, including this Greenland idea. That's impeachable. This letter that you wrote is an impeachable offense. Regardless of anything else you've done, this is superseded. You trying to go into Greenland would be your downfall. This would be your downfall. Because the minute you walk into Greenland with troops blazing and planes above, forget it. You would lose everything. Because Congress and the Senate is going to say, we had enough. This is the last straw. And yes, they will impeach you. And there's nothing that you'd be able to say about it. But this letter itself is an impeachable offense. Because you're basically writing to the Nobel Committee, you're basically threatening them and bullying them, saying, you didn't give me what I want, I deserve it, so fuck you all, I'm going in, I'm taking what's rightfully ours. And you're questioning the ownership. First of all, not only are you stupid and dumb, but anybody who's the president knows our history. Knows, because most people who've been presidents before are usually lawyers. Beforehand. And after the lawyers, they're usually in Congress first, or a Senate, or even a governor for that matter. And when you're a lawyer, you obviously know the rules because they teach you the Constitution in school. When you're a congressman, you actually have to know because you're writing the law, because you're creating laws. That's why it's called the legislative branch, right? So as president, you should know what the laws are. You should really know what the Constitution is. And here's another thing, that when he says putting America first, why do you care what Iran is doing? Why is it that when people are protesting here, you say they are personal agitators and then be stopped, but then in Iran you're saying protect the protesters? But when we protest here at home, you order your Gestapo Nazi police to throw tear gas at people, pepper spray them, have them arrested. You can't have it both ways. First of all, protesting is First Amendment. That's freedom of speech. I have a right to protest. I have a right to protest. I have a right to say, you are a motherfucking son of a bitch. And yes, hate speech is protected by the First Amendment. And that brings me, so you're telling me, but you're telling Iran, that if you don't protect the protesters, if you kill the protesters, you will have hell to pay. How's that putting America first? You're telling us in America we can't protest, and if we protest, it's because agitators started up, or because it's BLM, or because it's Antifa, or domestic terrorism. But on Iran, protect the protesters, or we're going to bring them here to protect them. So you care more about what's going on in other countries than you do here at home with your own people that you're supposed to actually protect. You know, the people that swore you into office. Can somebody explain how this... Can somebody please explain to me? Can somebody please explain to me how this is even remotely makes sense? And even with this whole MAGA, who seem to think that Donald Trump, that what he's doing, it's okay. They have no problem with this. And MAGA, and I don't know who's getting worse here. The dictator Trump or MAGA itself. I really don't know who's getting worse here. Because I had a conversation with someone a while back. I had a conversation with someone who, every time I post a story on my Facebook, seems to not like what I post. So keeps messaging me. And I keep saying, if you never like how this is going to end, why the hell do you keep messaging me? So I posted something, and I don't remember what the story is because the story got wiped out after 24 hours. But I posted a video about a guy, Harry Sisson. And the video had nothing to do with Venezuela at all. The video had to do with how countries are starting to turn on us and becoming our enemy. No more video. He posts to me, this video isn't about Venezuela, but keep bothering me about without providing any facts whatsoever. He writes, posting videos with him makes liberals look stupid. He is why Trump won. Thank him for helping Trump win. Which... I have no idea what makes sense, but okay. I wrote, if you can't quote officers, please don't comment. He says, laugh LOL. I said, his video isn't about Venezuela, so you already have no credibility. He laughs again. Thanks for proving me right, you ignorant magite. His response to me when I said his video isn't about Venezuela, so you already have no credibility, his response was, stop it. He's such an idiot. Get a better role model. I said, okay. You are also the same person who said to filter out the truth, which is the exact opposite of what you're supposed to filter out. Okay, his response to me was, are you saying you want to keep the lies? Very Democrat of you. Notice how he twisted his own words to say that I said that. Okay, he said, and I quote, he watches CNN because you have to know how to filter out the truth. Which basically, what he's basically admitting is, facts don't matter, but if CNN is telling the truth, believe the exact opposite of what they're saying. So I said to him, you're also the same person who said to filter out the truth, which is the exact opposite of what you're supposed to filter out. His response was, are you saying you want to keep the lies? Very Democrat of you. He's twisting it to say that I said it to justify his points, which is really fucked up. That makes no sense. And I wrote, dude, those were your words. Nice try, though. Next time you want to debate, post your sources. Otherwise, why message me every time you won't win? He writes, I am keeping you from looking uneducated. Only the politically uneducated post him. So he's ignoring what I said and going back to this guy, Harry Sisson. So I wrote, again, prove it. Educated people post, and if they are wrong, they retract and apologize. To which he says, I accept your apology. I said, I'm not apologizing. That's not what I said. You think you Magites are so tough and think you us smart people are stupid, yet you believe the lies you're told and insist you're correct without proving any evidence, just like Puppy Killer Noam did. His response, keep protesting for the terrorists in Venezuela. Okay? Ignoring everything else I said, stop bringing up a topic not discussed, and FYI, if you're okay with violations of international law, then you're the problem. So he writes, did you have a problem when Biden and Obama did it? Once again, it always goes back to Joe Biden and Obama. It always goes back to that, to which I said, they are no longer president. Stop living in the past and avoid admitting your cult leader as an egotistical, narcissistic, vindicative psychopath. Again, he writes, there is your Democrat double standards. I'm like, no, you're bringing up the past. Unrelated, and I won't engage with MAGA when they refuse to show any proof. So he writes, proof? There is no proof needed. Thankfully, Harris is not president. What a failure. Okay, now he's bringing up Kamala Harris. She was never mentioned anywhere in this conversation, but there you go. Saying no proof, and thankfully Kamala Harris isn't president. Okay, so MAGA is basically saying you don't need proof to say anything. Basically, if Trump says it, nothing else matters. No other facts are needed. Donald Trump said it. Anyone in his MAGA base, you said it, it's true. Everybody else is just full of lies. That's what he's basically saying. I said, you can't make statements without backing it up. You're right. So, she was correct about Trump. She warned us, and none of you listened. And then I wrote, you're brainwashed and in denial. If you say nothing needs proof, you're basically saying you can do whatever you want and then deny it ever happened. To which he responded, do you do stand-up? I said, yes, but I'm stating facts. To which he writes, you are hilarious. The best comedy has done. Truth it. I said, you're in denial. So he tries to correct my grammar by saying you are or you're. I said, you. He goes, only the Y is capital. Example, you're. I said, and I wrote it again. You are brainwashed in denial. If you say nothing needs proof, you're basically saying you can do whatever you want and deny it ever happened. And I said, thank you for correcting your grammar. Happy I was able to teach you something and you listened. So I wrote, fuck off. You are insane. You're ignoring what I'm saying and twisting for your narrative, typical MAGA bullshit. You are brainwashed and in denial. If you say nothing needs proof, you're basically saying you can do whatever you want and then deny it ever happened. So you have no response and can't admit I'm right, so attack me and twist it for your agenda. Why do you message me when you can't have a conversation? That's basically how this conversation happens. And I'm going to say it again. MAGA is a fucking cult. And you can say whatever you want about it, but I can prove, but you say you need proof? Okay, I just proved that this conversation went absolutely nowhere, bringing up people that were never even mentioned in the conversation, trying to justify that somehow Obama and Biden, that I was okay with this, and Kamala Harris, thankfully she's not the president, they're all over the place. Do you see how this is? Do you see how this is? MAGA lies so much. They're so far gone from reality that they actually believe everything they say. But they're lying so much that they believe it. But then when they get caught, they totally change the topic to something not even relevant. I saw Christine Noam at a hearing in Congress. She couldn't answer any question. Dan Goldman, who represents my state, was asking her simple, basic questions. And she couldn't even answer them. And when she tried to answer it, she said, well, Biden, well, if it wasn't for Biden, and he said correctly, we're not talking about Joe Biden. This is not Biden's administration. This is Trump's administration. And she couldn't answer anything. But when in doubt, blame Joe Biden. Now, either this administration is obsessed with Joe Biden, jealous of Joe Biden, or trying to blame Joe Biden to rip away his legacy, that when you tell a lie long enough, people believe it. But that's insane. Donald Trump is running the White House like he's a mob boss. Nothing ever gets done with bullying or intimidation, or threats for that matter. And I know I'm getting worked up over this, but it's just, who are we anymore as a country? Who are we? Are we the United States of America? Or are we a fascist authoritarian country now where anything goes? Where we don't have a constitution, where we don't need elections because they'll find reasons to impeach me, so I'm canceling the midterm elections. I'd sign an executive order to get rid of mail-in ballots, except for one tiny little problem on that one. The President of the United States doesn't have any authority whatsoever to A, cancel elections, B, make any order to get rid of mail-in ballots, and C, only doing it because his boyfriend, Vladimir Putin, told him it's bad. But here's the thing. Didn't Donald Trump use mail-in ballots to vote in Florida, where he's registered in New York? At the time? Doesn't our military troops vote by mail-in ballot? So if it's not legal, how are the troops supposed to vote? As an American, it's their duty to do that. So if you're getting rid of mail-in ballots, how is our military? What are you going to fly them home just so they can vote, then fly them right back to where they were? That would not be very logistic-wise. That's not a good idea. Mail-in ballot, and if you're going to say they're illegal, again, this goes back to the 8 wars and the national security issue. If they're illegal, explain why are mail-in ballots not legal. They've been good for many, many years. All of a sudden you come to office and they're not legal. But you don't explain why. Okay. Only Congress has the power to cancel elections and to get rid of mail-in ballots. And by the way, states have the power, not the federal government. Election day is a federal holiday. States are the ones that have the machines. When you're suing the states because they're refusing to hand over voter information, that's a problem. Because states don't have to do that. By law, voter information is supposed to be private because it has people's personal info on there. And if you're suing the states because they're not giving it to you, everyone keeps saying, we need voter ID laws. We need voter ID. Hey, dipshits, we already have these laws. Nobody walks into, I volunteer at the voting booths on election day. Illegal people cannot vote in this country. They cannot register. Even if they try to do that, they know for a fact if they actually try to do that, they most likely would be deported for committing a crime. So there's absolutely no way an illegal immigrant could vote. And if you're the President of the United States, you should actually know that law because it's in the Constitution. But, and the idiots out there who we call MAGA actually believe this crap and are voting to say we should have voter ID laws. We already have them. In fact, when you apply for a job, one of the things is, will you require sponsorship? Are you over 18? Will you need sponsorship to work here? AKA, do you need a work visa? It's on every application. If you're not registered to vote, do you need to do that? It's asked all the time. But if you're not an American citizen, you can't vote. Just like you can't serve on a jury in a court of law because you're not a citizen. If you can't serve on a jury, how can you vote? Can't have it both ways. So we do have voter laws in this country. So how can you make something a law that's already a law? A simple reading of law books could tell you that. And when I'm at the election site, people come in, all you ask them is your name, your address, and you tell them where to go. That's it. You're not asking for ID. You're not asking for ID. Why? Because we already have that information. when you're registering to vote, your information is already there. It's already there. Because when they're registering you to vote, it's already being verified. So the voter ID laws exist. We just don't use it at the polling sites because there's no need to. Because all the information is already in the system. And if you're a registered voter, it'll say, oh, so-and-so registers lives here. And you can't, for all those other idiots out there, you can't be registered to vote in 2 places at once. That's not possible. And if you attempted to do that, that's a crime. Because the system would most likely pick it up. Because when you're registering to vote, you're giving your social security number. So no one is going to be dumb enough to do that because, you know why? Because the system already picked up that you're registered to vote. And you can only vote where you live. So if I'm registered, say, in California, but now I move to, say, Louisiana, and I want to register in Louisiana, but I'd have to undo my registration in California first before I can register in Louisiana, because guess what? If I attempt to register in Louisiana, and the state of Louisiana picks up on it, guess what? I'm going to jail for committing fraud, because that's a federal crime. So you can't really be registered to vote in 2 places, and you can't say we have voter ID laws because we already have them. But people are too stupid to figure it out. People's education flew out the window when they joined the cult. They got brainwashed, and suddenly they believe whatever they're told to believe because that's what's being in the cult. But 100% we have voter laws. 100% we have voter laws, and 100% we have voter ID laws. 100%. And 100% you cannot be registered to vote in 2 places. That's not possible. It's actually illegal. And that's not just for illegal immigrants. That's for any American citizen. If you attempt to vote in 2 different places and they catch it, you're going to be arrested for fraud. So these are laws. I can't help it if you refuse to believe that, but I'm really tired of seeing that all over the place. Oh, we need voter ID laws. We need this. First of all, and all these idiots that are saying this have absolutely no proof whatsoever. They just read a story and they go with it. They hear Donald Trump saying it, but nobody wants to question him. Nobody wants to say, by the way, sir, we already have this law. And what is to say? Get the fuck out. Who do you work for? Oh, they're garbage news. We'll revoke your credentials. Really? So you know better than the press? That's why facts matter. And when MAG, as I proved to you now, when MAG is trying to, if they don't want to listen to anything you say, and they're laughing at what you're saying, and it goes back to the Harry system. Do you have any idea who he is? Same thing with this Renee Good. Nobody ever heard of her, but suddenly she's enemy number 1. An American citizen who got shot. But now she's a professional agitator, she's a domestic terrorist, she's this and that. We knew nothing about her until that day she got into that failed day. And everyone is making, and now the entire mag is making up a whole story about her. That she did this, and Fox was going along with it, MAG is going along with it. And I'm like, okay, if she's a domestic terrorist, what did she do? If she's a professional agitator, what did she do? And what exactly is a professional agitator? Is that even a thing? And that's why facts matter. How can you say things about someone you don't even know, or you never even heard of? And when someone actually shows you the facts and you refuse to believe it, well, that's your problem. Because Mark Twain always said, you can distort the facts any way you like, but understand the facts first. Once you have the facts and you want to distort it, that's on you. And I'm going to end, but here's the real truth. We all thought Donald Trump was joking about Greenland, and we all blew it off. But here's the thing. Is he serious now? Or is this mainly a distraction from the Epstein files? We don't know. But it's serious enough that the European Union is taking it seriously. Very seriously. So much so that some idiot congressman in the House made up a bill to make Greenland the 51st state. So much so that Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, put on her Twitter a flag of Greenland with the American stripes, saying, "Soon, Greenland, you will be annexed and free." Okay, I didn't know they were in dire need of help, but when a country is saying, "We don't want your help," when thousands of Greenlanders are protesting in the freezing cold in their own country with signs that say, "Fuck you, Donald Trump, Greenland isn't for sale," and so on, and you're telling Greenlanders, "We're going to annex you, don't worry, freedom is at hand." Well, I don't know what to tell you there. But this is the same thing with Canada, when he decided Canada had to be the 51st state. The only difference with Canada is that Canada is part of the United Kingdom. So attacking Canada would be basically attacking, Great Britain, which would be England, Ireland, Scotland, and maybe some other countries there. But we're only a year into his presidency. We have 3 more years of this crap. And I feel sorry that by the time we have 3 years left. And I was just thinking to somebody, I was filming a movie. I was filming a student film the other day. And it's about a plot about that takes place in dystopian America. And they had a whole website made up called trueamerican.usa.org or something like that. And I realized right then and there, I said, it's interesting that this film is a timely manner, because this film is basically 1984. And I said, and sadly, I said, we're living in 1984. 1984 is exactly what we're living in right now. And if you ever saw the commercial, the 1984 commercial, the commercial introducing the very first Mac, that was directed by Ridley Scott. It was basically a 1984 commercial where we live in a dystopian world, and everybody was buying an Apple, and only an Apple. And unfortunately, and that's the world we're living in now. And if George Orwell was alive today, he'd be shocked to see how his novel became a reality. And if Washington, Jefferson, and our forefathers were alive today, they'd be shocked. They would die of a heart attack. But that is an interesting comparison, though, because I happen to have been on the set this week filming some scenes that takes place in a dystopian. And I'm like, well, we're actually living it, so I guess it's timely. I'm like, but people are like, what's 1984? Didn't you read it in school? Not really, no. I said, well, I suggest you read it now because we're living in it. People, John F. Kennedy said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And people fear what they don't understand. And that's normal. But if you want to understand it, then educate yourself. Read up, research. And once we understand it, we won't fear it anymore. Because if we understand it, we can do something about it. But unless we understand it, fear will get us. Fear is our greatest weapon against us. Because fear does kill. Fear brings terror. Fear brings destruction and hurt and pain. But if you don't educate yourself, and you don't do your due diligence, then that fear is going to be our downfall. And we can't let that happen. So if you're fearing something, then fix it so that we understand it. Because to get to the root of the matter, you have to understand it. And I've been saying it for a while now. And people were still saying to me, oh, you're being ridiculed, oh, you're a liberal snowflake. That's fine. That's fine. Call me whatever you want. But I said that you're going to see, we're going to have, the ICE is going to be like Nazis and Gestapos, and we're going to have checkpoints and military zones, and we're going to have to prove our ID. And you can see, it's all coming to fruition. I was right, and I got ridiculed and laughed at for it. And that's fine. But we see now, and I'm not the one who's been calling the ICE Nazis or Gestapo. It's Trump's secret police, and Stephen Miller is Goebbels. And you can just see that by what he says and everything. And those who don't understand history are doomed to repeat it. Those who fail history are doomed to repeat it. We see it playing out now in real time. 1984 is here. Nazi 2.0 is here. America is turning into a Nazi party. And people are in denial about it. And that is how people's downfall happens. And we can't let that happen. So if you fear it, do your due diligence. Read up about it. Do the reference. But mark my words, my friends. If Donald Trump is actually serious about Greenland, make no mistake, we will have World War III. We will have World War III. But I hope he does seize it. Because if he does seize it, that'll be his downfall. And there's nothing that MAGA or anybody else can say to justify what he did. They can try, and I'm almost sure they will, but there's nothing that MAGA or any one of his supporters can say that would justify him going in there, ending an alliance, and starting World War III. It'll be his downfall. And when that happens, the people who warned everybody else about him will have the last laugh. Kamala Harris warned us about him. Joe Biden, his farewell address, warned us about him and the oligarchs. They were both correct. They were both correct. And obviously MAGA doesn't want to play into that. But they were right. And they're having the last laugh. And so are we. And when if Donald Trump seizes Greenland, and that's his downfall, I pray to everybody. I pray to America. I pray to family, friends. I pray to the European Union, everybody. But I would also have a nice laugh when MAGA and his supporters are trying to justify why he was okay, why he did it. But if they want to go down fighting, let them. Because only the truth, only the facts matter. And only the people who know exactly what the laws of this country are and know the difference between right and wrong, we may end up having to be the saviors. The people who were the ones warning all the MAGAs and MAGites and the Trumpers of what was going to happen. Are we going to bail them out? Are we going to say, we told you so? Are we going to come in and soup the day? It may come to that. But it may not. And I hope it doesn't. But if it does, we'll be there watching all come tumbling down and getting rid of Donald Trump once and for all.